Hi, Hanlin. Welcome to the NT podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. Happy to be here.
Nice. Can you quickly share your background to our audience?
Absolutely. So I run the conversational AI interfaces product team at ServiceNow for about a year and a half. So our product vision is to take chat from conversation to resolution. So what we do is we have this end-to-end chat experience across different messaging channels, also across different bot chat and live chat. So we have this integrated cross-channel experience.
You mentioned like bot chat and live chat. What's the difference for you between both?
So when we say conversational interfaces, right? Conversational interfaces happen between humans and bot. Also, there will be situations that bot couldn't handle the specific situation, or we like to have a live agent to support us, right? This is a very common for any customer support situation, right?
Okay.
We always start with automated system, then yeah.
So basically, it's like the automated version versus the human management.
Yes. So the right practice should be after you analyze how live agent handle the situation, you can continuously automate the complex use cases as a part of your bot domain, right?
Okay, interesting. And I'm sure you have maybe participated in many different conversational AI projects, but can you maybe mention one of the most recent project that you were working on?
Yeah. So we are exploring many possibilities, right? Every product right now is always wanted to be insightful with AI or machine learning. Okay. So the most recent AI project we are exploring is related to conversational intent recommendation. Because ServiceNow is an IT management system of record. So we have an incidence data. Then we also have this agent data. So we can analyze and correlate different data sets to see what are the intent or topics we should introduce as a part of a bot conversation. So that's the most recent AI project we are exploring right now.
How are you analyzing the conversational intent? Like, what are the parameters you guys measure?
Primarily, we actually focused on the efficiency, how we solve the issues, right? We call that deflection rate. So that's the number one thing. And number two thing is how can we analyze the, when we say intent, we mean what users wanted to do to business related, right? It's not anything because we still have a very domain specific natural language models and we don't want to solve everything. We don't want our bot to be generic bot. We want our bot to be your agent or be your assistant. So we have a different kind of a parameter related to this area.
Speaking about the natural language, because I recently wrote an article comparing like natural language versus like conversational interface, meaning like combining graphic elements inside of a conversational experience, right? How would you maybe compare those two approaches in order to build a conversational experience?
Interesting. That's the question or the debate we had since day one, right? Okay. You can either control through your strictly guided conversation experiences, or you can let it be flat, totally rely on your natural language process capability. So what we're trying to do is we combine those two to introduce a mixed version, because we are expert in our domain. So we know most of the graph, but at the same time, people prefer a free form of chat, right? You need to give people the flexibility. So how can you combine those two to make sure even they feel like they're texting with a free chat format, they still get the guidance. Actually, the major flow will go to which direction. So that's how we come up together. So basically we say you can do both.
Okay. And when would you apply one versus the other? Like, can you maybe describe a practical case?
Yeah, for example, when we say, hey, you like to, let's use a very simple use case we typically have from ServiceNow domain, right? I like to check my IT issue status, for example. It's a very simple one, right? When people start typing, hey, what's going on with my case I opened 2 weeks ago, right? So we use NLP to identify, okay, you might have opened multiple cases. because we have a system integration. Prior we start the chat, we already know your user profile. So without you telling us what cases you have opened, we already know that system record. So maybe we bring 2 or 3. Then because we know typically questions that end users will ask during this task, we actually see 1, 2, 3, option 1, 2, 3. Are you going to, check the status? Do you have more update on this, or you want to escalate, right? Maybe we also provide this 4th one saying, hey, what others you like to do? So based on that, the guidance, people might click. When people click, it's not part of NLP, right? It's just part of a graph approach. But if they type, you can say, hey, I need to understand. Maybe they switch topic now, right? So that's a combination of graph plus natural language processing.
Well, that's amazing. And what's the NPS of usually the experience you guys are building? Do you guys measure that?
Yes and no, because we primarily focus on the deflection rate, right? From business perspective, right? We serve requesters as long as the conversation can be completed within the bot domain. We think the issue has been solved. So what we try to estimate, primarily focus on for our customers is how many cases before handled by live agent now can handle 100% by our bot.
Yeah.
So we can make the agent focus more strategic tasks, right?
Yeah.
So they don't have to be overloaded. They do more important things.
And in that case, what's the average deflection rate you guys can achieve?
Oh, that varies.
That varies?
Right? Some customers, we have a couple, a year and a half ago, we have a customer, a very big entertainment customer, it's famous, but their deflection rate, since the first month they deployed our solution, the deflection is over 25%, right?
Wow,
this is
that's
not the highest number. We have another customer just a couple months ago, they deployed the first month with very simple conversation, and guess what? Their deflection rate is 58%.
Wow. And why is the difference? Why is the difference, you think?
It is the complexity of the use cases, right? How you enable that, right? And also the domain plays so critical role here, right? For your IT issues, it can be anything. And not every IT issue can be troubleshooted and solved via your chatbot, right? But for a lot of, let's say, HR, legal, employee-related query information, you can actually provide pretty decent results through your chatbot. Domain plays critical role. Also, how you design your conversation experience also is important, right? People are getting mature. Now we have a new position we call conversation designer, right? It's between the UX designer and the developer, right? So it's a new position.
And are people maybe hiring new employees from outside, or maybe kind of promoting someone inside to change to their role to the conversational designer?
It's actually it's a net new field. So here we actually have the special training institute focusing on this area.
So you guys have kind of an institute to train people to do this role.
To be conversation designer, because you need the user experience design experience that's part of a UX design domain. But at the same time, you also need to understand the technical domain or customer domain pretty well. Right? And you can combine those together, because conversational interface is very different from portal difference, portal experience, or even from mobile difference, right? So how do you combine and integrate different angles all together? That's a pretty cool thing, pretty cool position, actually.
Do you consider yourself maybe a conversational designer?
We try, because we have to think from a conversational perspective, right? So we can, I don't believe I can be a great, the designer saying, hey, this is actually a different color theme we should use. How can we design this, but we do provide our thought to, hey, we think this is the mental model works for this specific domain end users. And this is a why, and this is how the backend workflow works, and how those two can be integrated together.
That's a very, very interesting thought here. Maybe change a little bit the topic here, because previously we were talking about kind of the impact of COVID-19 in our personal life. But what do you see as the impact of COVID-19 in the conversational AI space overall?
Yeah, first of all, right, you see, from my angle, the AI as a part of COVID-19, right?
Yeah.
From the chatbot, we pushed out so many, COVID-19 related FAQs or policy changes, right?
Okay.
And push that into employees, so employee can check, right? The most recent back to work,
Sure.
With this policy, different companies, they may need to, check in your employee and check out your employees just to make sure, you have a good tracking to make sure your environment can be cleaned, right? Anything happens, you actually inform your employee in a timely manner. So with those in mind, right, even as a part of a conversational, we have this conversation defined for check-in, check-out. So employee actually use our chatbot to do that for them, right? So this is a direct impact via conversational interface during COVID-19, right? But we see there will be more. We are thinking about, for example, in the future will be telehealth, right? Your patient don't need to leave the house, but they still need doctor support. How can they do that? When you have that engagement, it's through the conversational, interface, right? You have a conversation with your patient. So right now we have a nurse to check your everything on your temperature, on your weight, on your blood pressure. So can we actually have the self-serve, then you self-report to the bot as your frontline nurse before you are transferred to the real doctor, right? How can you have all those together? So I do see there are a lot of potentials.
I actually saw recently many different maybe conversational bot project aiming for the healthcare industry specifically.
Absolutely,
so definitely lots of potential there.
Yeah.
And maybe finally, and maybe you should be careful about this question. Can you share a contrarian opinion about the future of chatbot?
Technology is very powerful. With the computing power, with the data, the deep learning, the technology can empower us to do so much more. So for me, it's not about what we can do. It's about what we should do and what we should not do specifically, right? So I believe it's not just within conversational AI. It's also applied to general AI or machine learning strategy. So I feel like it is moral issue more than technology issue. So for me, that's I'm very cautious on that.
So you're saying like the challenge in the future would be mainly on the ethics, on like how to solve some.
How you think about your social factors, right? How you try to avoid the bias during the machine processing, right? How can we make machine more trustworthy, right? Because we tend to trust machine more than before now. So how can we actually make the machine more can be trusted, then with all the privacy, consideration, ethical things all together. So that's something I feel like is very, as a diehard technologist, so it's not really technology issue, it's really a social issue, right? Moral issue,
Perfect. And that's a very good way to wrap up our session here. And I think we have shared many different topics, and our audience will really appreciate it. So thanks for your time and contribution.
Thank you.